Either we have a good data, means a data which follows all the assumptions of normality, homoscedasticity, or we have a not so good data that violates all these assumptions. So what we do, we clean these data either through increasing the sample size. What happens more we increase the sample size, data tends to come under the normal distribution curve, or we take the logarithm of that data so that if every see whenever we take the logarithm of a data set on the base of 10, what happens we take basically the standardized values. Somebody in a session asked me that are these values the logarithm values, sorry, these logarithm values the z values. So I kept the answer for today's session. No, logarithmic values are not the z values. Though the logarithmic values are standardized values and even z values are also the standardized scores. But creating the logarithm is the very first step in creating the z value. So what we do that we create the logarithm of the data, subtract it from the mean, and then divide it by standard deviation. That gives us the z score. So either we create this, means take the logarithm of the data, or sometimes in the case of a few of the tests, we can create robust confidence intervals. Means we bring a lot of data by creating their mirror image into that confidence interval of 95% through bootstrapping. But what if all these options fail and we don't have any option of bootstrapping also? So how to test the data? So for that purpose, we always have a non-parametric equivalent of every kind of statistical analysis. If you could recall this decision tree, so if your data is not meeting the this assumptions, and if it's a categorical data, directly proceed to Mann-Whitney, or it's a metric data but not following the normal distribution, then go for the non-parametric equivalent of independent t-test. I hope you are aware of the concept of independent sample and dependent sample, right? Anybody who is not aware of the concept of dependent sample or independent sample?
Me, sir, I don't know the concept. Could you please?
May I please know who is this?
Sir, Puneet here.
So I think have you missed that preparatory sessions?
Sir, preparatory session I attended, but is that same thing, predictors and dependent independent thing, or it is something else?
No, what we discussed during that was the same thing we are discussing. Okay, just for a brief.
Yes, sir.
So
Could you please
suppose if
define
you
it?
have an independent variable and that independent variable is divided into two groups, and these two groups are not related to each other, means they will have always have a variance in the population, then they are called independent samples. This doesn't means that you have two independent variables. You have only one independent variable divided into two groups, and these two groups are not related to each other. If you are having these two groups related to each other, then this will be a case of dependent sample. For
Sir,
example, I
yes.
want to test the IQ score of male and females. So I have a dependent variable, means I have a population where my population is divided into males and females, and this male and female doesn't have the similar characteristic, right?
Yes, sir.
So there will be a case of
Independent sample.
independent sample. Now I'm saying that I want to take the IQ score of the entire population after a treatment. Let's say at the when I started experiment, and let's say I have given some training to them, and I have calculated the score pre-training and post-training. So my population characteristic remains the same. The only thing changed,
Okay.
that is the
Okay.
time.
Time. Yes, sir.
So pre and post situation is there. Again, I
Okay.
have two group. A
Yes, sir.
group of pre-training and a group of post-training.
Post-training.
But people remain the same.
Yes, sir.
So that is the case of dependent sample.
Dependent samples. Okay, sir. Got
Now
it.
clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So if you are taking, if your dependent sample is in the form of categorical data, means taken on a nominal or ordinal scale, and you want to, since you have independent sample, two groups, so of course you have to go for independent sample t-test. But the kind of data, means the kind of scale that you have used for the measurement does not permits you to do that, because for one sample t-test, sorry, for independent sample t-test, you need to have the metric data, but in this case you have the categorical data. So how will you test that whether the variation exists across these two samples or not? So for that you go for the non-parametric equivalent, that is the Mann-Whitney test. If your data is metric data, then you will check it further for normality. If it is following normality, then fine, proceed for Levin's test of homogeneity. Why you need to check the homogeneity? Because you have two unrelated samples, you have to see that variances exist across these samples or not. And if it fulfills all the assumptions, then you have to proceed for independent t-test. Yes, independent t-test. If it does not follow these assumptions, then you have to either bring it to normal distribution, remove this problem of heteroscedasticity by transforming the data into their logarithm or increasing the sample size. But in case if all these options have ended up, you don't have any other option, and you need to check that how these independent samples are going to affect your dependent variable, then take the non-parametric equivalent of that test. So you have almost every test has their non-parametric equivalent. If you have attended the session of correlation, I have already told this Spearman correlation, and that Kendall-Stowe, all these are non-parametric equivalent of Pearson correlation. So similarly, if you have the case of independent sample, dependent sample divided into two groups, then and all your options have ended up to bring that data into normal distribution curve, then go for their non-parametric equivalent. So in the case of independent sample, you have a non-parametric equivalent called Mann-Whitney test, whereas in case of dependent sample, we have the pair t-test. But if all the assumptions are not followed, all your options have ended up, you can't bring that data set into normal distribution, go for the Wilcoxon test. That is the non-parametric equivalent of ART test. So this is how we take the decisions. Now coming to the non-parametric test. Till here I am clear? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now coming to the second option, and that is the non-parametric test. See, sometimes what happens that the data is like a paralyzed child, but since you cannot betray the child, you have to do some treatment for that. So, if somebody is differently abled, rather than betraying, we have some special treatments for them, especially schools, special counseling activities. Similarly, this data is like a data which is not normally distributed is something you can say a differently abled kind of data. So you have to give them a different treatment equivalent to the normal treatment, and these treatments are called as non-parametric test. So now agenda for today is first we will check for unrelated independent samples. The non-parametric equivalent is Mann-Whitney test. Another test is also Wilcoxon-Rank sum test. Then we have for related samples Wilcoxon signed rank test. So don't get confused by rank sum test and means both have the same name, Wilcoxon rank sum test and Wilcoxon signed rank test, but never get confused. Reason being, Wilcoxon rank sum test is a measure of independent sample, and Wilcoxon signed rank test is the measure of related samples. Suppose if our independent sample is more than three or more than three, means more or way more than two, then in parametric test we had the option of one-way ANOVA. Here we have a Kruskal-Wallis test, which is the non-parametric equivalent of ANOVA, one-way ANOVA. So today we'll be discussing only these three: Mann-Whitney, Wilcoxon, and Kruskal-Wallis test. All these tests are based on ranking the data. Then we'll see their interpretation, how do we report them, and then calculating the effect size, that how the size of this data could affect your outcome. So normally non-parametric tests are used when assumptions of parametric test, that is of normality, are not met. And it is not always possible to correct for problems when the distribution of data set is not normal. Then in these cases we have to use non-parametric test. They make fewer assumptions about the type of data set. Means if we do not make the broad assumptions like normality and other, we go for non-parametric test. And yes, the robust test is also robust test we call as bootstrapping. That option is also not available. So I said that for independent t-test, we have two tests: Wilcoxon rank sum test and Mann-Whitney test. These two are the non-parametric equivalent of the independent test, and we can use either of the two because both of them test the differences between two conditions in which different participants have been used, and they work on the ranking of the data. So what we basically do, we take the data set. If the data set is in the scored form, then we provide the score, then it's okay. Else we calculate the score by, let's say we have independent data sets for two different situations which are unrelated to each other. So what we'll do, we will take the difference of those data and then rank them, the smallest rank from the one, and then so on. So from 1 to 10 like that. But again, if we have an unequal group size, then the test statistic, the Wilcoxon test, statistically it's called the sum of rank in the group that contains the least people. And for an equal group size, the Wilcoxon statistic will be the value of the smaller summed rank. Means when we are ranking them, the smallest rank, if we have an equal group size, let's say we have a group size of 13. If you split them, it will divide into 7 and 3. If you split this data set, in this case, if we provide the rank, then the rank value of smallest the smallest ranked value will be your Wilcoxon statistic. And if you have unequal the sum of the ranks in the group that contain the least people, means we had 7 and 6. So the sum of rank of the 6 people, means the second group which is having only 6 people, that will, or let's say we have the data of 3 different dates, 20 data sets divided into group of 7, then 7 and remaining let's say 6. So we will take the sum of ranks of the third group, that is out of those 6 people, and their summated score will be your test statistic. This is the basic statistic behind the Wilcoxon test. Wilcoxon rank sum test or Mann-Whitney test. But we'll see that how we carry out these tests in SPSS. So now the research problem is that there is a neurologist who investigated the depressant effect of certain recreational drugs. So your total population size was, or sample size was 20 people. Out of these 20 out of these 20 people, 10 were given the ecstasy tablet on Saturday night. This is the first case. And 10 were allowed to drink only alcohol on Saturday night. And level of depression were measured using the Beck Depression Inventory. This is a score of depression, a scale used to measure the depression on the day after, means on Sunday, and midweek, that is on Wednesday. So can you see this situation is having both the problem of a paired test, means related sample and unrelated sample both? Which problem is the case of unrelated sample? Can you tell me? Or independent sample? If you take this entire
population having tablets and population having only alcohol, independent. These
that
are
is the case of independent test.
Yes, sir.
And now the second one, day after and midweek, the effects. The level of depression, the day after and midweek. You can see this is the case of paired sample.
Related. Yeah, paired.
Related sample.
Yes.
You are just measuring the depression scores over 2 different days, right?
Yes, sir.
Clear with this? Are you people
Yes,
clear
sir.
with this problem? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now let's see how we can do this. Now taking the first case, that is the Mann-Whitney test independent sample case. So open this data. If you could see, this is the type of the drug, means alcohol and ecstasy. Then based on the Beck Depression Inventory, the depression score on Sunday and the depression score on Wednesday we have taken. Now we want to test. Can you make the hypothesis on the basis of this problem? Can anybody make the hypothesis? I'm again putting before you the problem. Based on this, can you make the hypothesis?
So two different hypotheses can be made. Like there is relationship between type of drug and back depression on Sunday, and similarly relationship between type of drug and back depression on midweek.
Okay. Anything else? See, one hypothesis could be between those who took alcohol and those who took ecstasy, depression levels will be different the day after. That will be your hypothesis one, means on Sunday the depression level will be different, and the second hypothesis could be it will be different after midweek. Actually, this is what you are trying to say.
Yes, sir. This
Means
is what I'm trying to say. Yes, sir.
means a difference will exist due to the type of the drug. That
Yes,
is
sir. Yes,
one
sir.
case, and depression will differ due to the difference in the days,
Yes,
means
sir. Yes,
Sunday
sir.
and Wednesday.
Week. Yeah.
Yeah, because reason being, along with time, the effect of these medicines will decrease or increase, whatever means. We have to test whether it's increasing or decreasing, right? Is this point clear to you? Either we'll see that the depression level varies among the two type of people taking these two type of drugs, means these two groups, or depression level varies between two different days, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So let's test that how much our hypothesis stands true or false. So the basic statistic behind this is that you have to create a group, create ranks. So if you create the ranks, means calculate all these manually, and you rank the data ignoring the group, means ignoring only, you just take the depression levels and ignore the group, that which group means ecstasy or alcohol the person belongs to. So what it will tell you, a similar number of high and low ranks in each group suggest that depression level do not differ between the groups, and a greater number of high ranks in the ecstasy group than the alcohol group suggests that ecstasy group is more depressed than the alcohol group. That is the basic statistic, means we just check the scores, and this is the kind of scoring that we do manually. We take the scores and then rank them. So, but let's see how we do this in SPSS. So one thing about non-parametric test in SPSS, that the method is almost the same, whether it doesn't matter that which of the test you are applying. So you can go for non-parametric test if your case is the case of independent sample, then take the independent sample. If your case is the case of related sample, go to the related sample. So our first case is the case of which one? Independent.
Independent
So take the
sample.
independent sample. Here you will find objectives, fields, and settings. Three kind of things. So either you will get uh, automatically compare distribution across groups, compare median across groups. These two things are computed by the software itself. But rather than letting the software do the task for you, it's better that you customize your analysis so that you have greater control over this your means telling the SPSS about your variables, so that based on your data set, it can take the variable by itself, that which should be the dependent variable, which should be the dependent variable. But don't let the software do this, but because sometimes it may be wrong also. Then second option, you will, so better go for, select this one, third one, customize analysis. Since I have run the analysis, so it's once I have chosen the customize analysis, it is here customize analysis. By default, it will be use predefined roles in the fields. Here use customized field settings, and then you can select that which would be the test field. And in settings, it would be by default automatically choose the test based on the data. This could be done, but it's better. What I would recommend, that you make the decisions by yourself, that which test you have to do. So customize test and you can choose the test. Other things you need not to. Significance level, it will be by default, unless if you want to change the confidence interval, then you can change, else leave it. Missing values, already if you have means treated, then you can say the include user missing values or exclude it. So by default, better treat the missing values and exclude them. Now let's say the first problem. So I'll go to analyze non-parametric test independent samples, customize analysis, fields, use customized fields. I'm working on wrong data set. I have to work on drugs, right? This data set. Everybody has this data set?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you might be having these scores. So go to analyze non-parametric test independent samples. In objective, customize analysis, fields, use customized field settings. I'll putting it to default, you'll get something like this. So I want to test the back depression inventory, and on Sunday, Wednesday, based on the type of the drug. But before that, we can have some, I'll come to this, we can have some exploratory analysis, and those exploratory analysis can give us some better insights. So first we check the normality. Let's say whether our data is normally distributed or not. So go to explore, in dependent list, choose your back depression. In factor list, choose your type of drug if you want on the basis of this, else you can take only this one. In the plots, stem and leaf, normality plot with test, continue, statistics, nothing. If you want to check for the outliers, you can check. So this data has already been checked for the outliers, cleaned and coded. Click on OK. This one. So what does this data set tells you? You could see from here. Since it's a very small sample size, so we'll see the Shapiro-Wilk statistics. So any idea what does this data set tells you? You can see the significance normally distributed. Your data set is normally distributed or not?
No, sir, it's not normally distributed because
Hmm?
for normal it is to be greater than 0.5.
See, if you see in case of ecstasy and if you say the depression score on Sunday, that is
It is
normally
not.
distributed. Sorry,
Not.
that
Yes,
is
sir.
skewed,
Yeah.
not
Yes, sir.
normally distributed.
Mm.
But if you compare the effect of ecstasy on back depression score on Wednesday, you will see it's normally distributed,
Distributed.
more than 0.05.
Yes,
In
sir.
case of the second category of the drug, you will see that again on in the case of Sunday or the very next day of giving the drug, it's not normally distributed. It's skewed. It's normally distributed, but on the
Normally distributed.
in the case of Wednesday, it's skewed.
Screened.
So the same you can see by the normal QQ plots. I have told you the more closer these data points will be to the line, the more normal your data set will be. So you can see in the first case on Sunday, check from here, it's skewed. Here also, if you can see, these data points are away from your line, means they are skewed. But in this case, you can see the second case, they are somewhat normally distributed, very close to the line. Then in case of this is the trended normal curve. Then normal QQ plot for depression inventory on Wednesday. So first case is normally distributed or skewed? It is somewhat skewed, but not as means somewhat normally distributed. You can say not a perfect normal distribution, but if you see in the second case, it's very skewed, and you can cross validate with the table also, isn't it? On Sunday, you'll see that it's somewhat normally distributed, but on the second day, you'll see that on Wednesday it is skewed. You can check from this data point, isn't it? Are you able to get this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let's check. So one of the assumptions is not met, means your all the values that you are checking is not normally distributed. Now let's also check for homogeneity of variances. So go to compare means, one way ANOVA. Take these, factor is type of drug. Go to options, homogeneity of variance test. Continue. I think I have splitted this file. I have to take the fresh data set. Did I split the file? Maybe. I will open a fresh data set. Let me check. Or 1 by 1 over. Let me check only for these options. Homogeneity of variance, continue. Factors, type of drug. Okay. Actually, in previous case, I have splitted the file for some testing. Now you can see this one. Levin's statistics. What does Levin's statistic tell you? Is there a homogeneity among the variances?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There is a homogeneity because it is greater
Yes, sir,
than
it is
the.
there.
Is there a homogeneity or there is no homogeneity? Tell me.
The homogeneity is there.
Homogeneity of variance is there.
Present.
Okay. But one of the assumptions is met and another of the assumption is not being met. So variances are, variances do not differ significantly, means there is homogeneity of variances. There is no heteroscedasticity. Clear? If you closely look, you will see that there is a variances do not differ significantly. No? There is no significant difference. Or there is a significant difference. What will we say in this case?
No significant difference between the variants. That is why their homogeneity is present.
Of course, there is no significant difference between the variances. So there is homogeneity. So one of our assumptions is met. But since the basic assumption of normality is not met, if you see from the previous case, so we will decide to go for the non-parametric equivalent, that is Mann-Whitney test. Till here I am clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So if the data would be other way around, that normality is present but homogeneity is absent, then only it's non-parametric, no? Matlab, either of the two would be positive and then we should go for non-parametric test.
See, homogeneity of variance is not so important as the normality. Suppose if there is no homogeneity of variances, but the data is normally distributed, and you want to see this case of homogeneity of variance won't be in the case of dependent samples. It will only be in the case of independent samples.
Yes, true, very true,
Okay.
sir.
So, if in the case of independent sample also, it is following the assumptions of normality taken on a metric scale, only violating the assumptions of homogeneity. Only this assumption is violated, and still you don't have other option to check. So you can go for independent t-test. Only thing is that it will give you two scores, assuming that there is a homogeneity, means there is a homogeneity in the variances, and assuming that no homogeneity in the variances. So you will take the statistic of no homogeneity among variances and you will report that statistic. Have you done this independent t-test before?
Yes, sir, it's clear. So, thank you, sir.
But here, since our basic assumptions are not met, and that basic assumption is our this normality, and we don't have even the option to increase the sample size, or the bootstrap option is not there. So the very first assumption that is required is not being fulfilled. So we have to go for this Mann-Whitney test.
So, sir, even if we don't do this homogeneity or variance test, still we will go for non-parametric only if the sample
Still
is
we
not
can
normal.
go for just for having an introspection that which of the assumption we need not to report this, just to have a inspection of the data that which of the assumptions are fulfilled and which are not. That's why
Okay.
for that I have done this. Okay. So suppose if you are writing your manuscript, so to give the reader the better insight of your data, you can report this also, that although there was homogeneity of variance, but the very basic assumption of normality was not met, means the rationale for doing this Mann-Whitney. That's why we have gone for Mann-Whitney test.
Okay.
And again, one thing is happening. This data that you have taken is not this back depression inventory that you have taken. Although that is a kind of scale data, but if you see the categories that you have taken, that category is a nominal data. You have taken two categories of people, no? Those who were on alcohol, those who were on ecstasy. That is only a nominal data, right? Hello? If you can see, one of the assumptions is that the data should, means one of the assumptions of non-parametric test is that if the data is a categorical data. So if you could see that one of the data is, although your metric data, this back inventory score, but again you are testing it across two categories, and those categories are nominal in nature rather than being categorical in nature. So they are not measured on a metric scale. So this all your data points or all your data sets being on a metric scale, that assumption is also not met, and the assumptions of normality is also not met. So you can go for the non-parametric equivalent, that is the Mann-Whitney test. And there is no wrong in doing the non-parametric test if you don't have any other options available. So go to analyze non-parametric test. Select this independent sample, customize analysis. In the fields, use custom field assignments. So here we will keep the type of drug here and depression. Here type of drug will go in groups. Now run the analysis. So what does it tell you? What result are you getting in this case? See the first table. It says the depression of, there are two null hypotheses. It says the distribution of back depression inventory on Sunday is the same across categories of type of drug. And it says the distribution of back depression inventory on Wednesday is the same across categories of type of drug. So these two hypotheses are made by the system itself. In the first case, it says retain the null hypothesis. In second case, it says reject the null hypothesis. So should we go for this? Should we follow this, or do we need to cross-validate this? Do one thing. On the first block, just click. So the moment you click at it, it will give you the model viewer. Now check the first case. What it is telling you. I want an answer from the audience. Is it suggesting you something?
Not able to interpret it.
see this null hypothesis. What is this null hypothesis?
Distribution of back depression is same across category of type of drug.
Okay. What is the significance value?
0.260, more than 0.5, 0.5.
Right.
Yeah,
It says retain this hypothesis.
yes, sir.
Now see this. The mean ranks are changing or not?
It is changing, sir.
It is changing.
Yes, sir.
But what is the value of this? What is the value of this significance?
0.269, sir.
So it says although the difference exists, but that difference is not significant.
Significant. Okay.
So we can say that this difference could not be a significant difference. Whatever the difference we are getting, that could not be a significant difference.
Okay.
And the standardized test statistic means the Z score that you are getting is minus 1.105. We'll see that how to use this in your further calculation. Now click on this second tab. Now see how much the mean rank is difference. What is difference between the mean ranks?
Very much difference.
Very much
5.9
difference.
to
And that
15.
difference could be a significant difference also.
Yes, sir.
Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So whatever the
Yes, sir.
suggestion, whatever the suggestion this software or SPSS is giving you, don't go only with that suggestion. Just cross validate by clicking that whether those differences are significant or not. You can see here in the first case, it only ranges from, see, out of 10, the mean rank is 9.05. Out of 11, you can see the out of 10 again here the mean rank is 11.95. There is no much difference, and if there exists a difference of, let's say, around 2.9, right? If there is a difference of 2.9, then even that difference is not significant. But here in the second case, you can see that there is a huge difference between the mean scores, and even that difference is significant. So you have to reject the null hypothesis, and you can say that in case of Wednesday, across the different type of drugs, the depression score changes, and you can tell that in case of alcohol it is not so much, but in case of ecstasy it's changing to a very high level. Clear?
Clear, sir.
Now you can, if you have to write the results of this test, you can write it like this. That depression level in ecstasy users did not significantly differ from alcohol users the day after the drugs were taken, means on Sunday. Okay. And what is the value of mu? 35.5. So you can say that mu is equal to 35.5, Z is equal to minus 1.11, P is equal to 0.280, and on this basis you can say that there is no significant difference. Now there is one more thing that has to be reported, but that is the effect size estimate, that I'll tell you how to calculate it manually using this standardized test statistic. You have to quote also R is equal to that value. Then again you can write, however, by Wednesday, you see the ecstasy users were significantly more depressed than alcohol users. Mu is equal to, U is equal to, Mann-Whitney U score is equal to 4.00, Z is equal to minus 3.48, P is less than alpha. And now calculate the effect size, because in this case, if you are doing the such kind of experimental study, you have to also, and since you have very small sample size, you have to see what is the effect of the size also. So we calculate the effect size. So if you could see in this table, the formula for calculating the effect size R is equal to Z by under root N. So now put 1.11 divided by square root of 20, because you have 20 observations. So it will come out to be minus 0.25. In second case, it will come out to be, means on Wednesday, it will come out to be minus 0.78. So this R statistic tells you about that this represents a small to medium effect for the Sunday data, because your criterion is too less for the medium size. Normally, when we see the size effect, we see the criterion we put is the 0.3. So it's somewhat moderately closer to the 0.3. But if you see on, irrespective of this sign, minus or plus sign, and on Wednesday, if you see, if it is having a very large effect, means very much than your set criteria. So even you can quote this data also. Clear with this? So your job will be done if you only say that depression level in ecstasy users did not differ significantly from the alcohol users the day after the drug were taken. And you can quote the Mann-Whitney test statistic that comes out to be in 35.5 in first case. And then you can say that, however, the day after the drugs however, at the mid of the week, that is on Wednesday, the drug were taken, the there was a significant effect, and ecstasy users were highly depressed, significantly highly depressed than the alcohol users. And the statistic you can report is U is equal to 4.0. Your Z is equal to minus 3.48, and P is less than alpha. If you want to quote the effect size, then you can use this Z statistic to calculate that effect size also. That is, divide this effect size by the square root of your total sample size. Clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This was the data. Any other? Let's see. We have any other statistics? However, this static will serve your purpose. Let's see if any other static we are getting. No, apart from this, we are not getting anything else. In settings, already we have taken testing options. No. So only this much will serve your purpose. You can quote all these statistics and your job will be done. Now moving on to another kind of situation. where you have the related samples. Okay. So if it is a case of related sample, then you have to go for the Wilcoxon signed rank test. Wilcoxon signed rank test, again, it's based on the ranking of data. Already we have reported this result. Then what we do in Wilcoxon signed rank test, we split the data. Basically, we split the file. So you can see that we have one group for ecstasy users and another group for alcohol users. Again, we have split the entire data set. And now we want to check whether the differences exist only on the days or not. So for that purpose, we will first check only in case of ecstasy, and then second case we will check in case of alcohol. Are you getting my point? See, the problem is the same.
Yes, sir.
The problem is the same, but only one difference. In first case, we have checked across 2 days, across 2 different groups also. Means the groups were simultaneously, means we have taken the 20 people, out of which few were on ecstasy and few were on alcohol, and we wanted to test whether there exists a significant difference between their depression scores based on the type of drugs they are taking. Now here we want to check only the difference in their scores on their depression scores on Monday and Wednesday. Sorry, Sunday and Wednesday. Means on Saturday they will give in this. Now we cannot take the data for ecstasy and alcohol simultaneously. So first we will take for ecstasy and then we will take for alcohol. However, the data set is like this. So what we will do, we will split the data set. Means one group will be created, means one data set within the same data set, one data set will be comparing only the effect of ecstasy on their depression scores, and the another group will be tested for only the effect of alcohol on their scores. Means there won't be different, we won't check the data set across different categories, right? Are you getting the problem?
Yes, sir.
So either you copy this data set to a different data set and do the analysis, but that won't give you significant results. So you can take the same data set, only you have to split the file so as to divide this entire data set from as the type of drugs. So you have to go to this data and select split file and compare groups. Select compare groups. The groups are based on type of drug. Or you can take organized output by groups, anyone. It will split your data set. Normally your data set will show like this, but when you will run the analysis, it will split the data set. So once you have split the file, then the first set of result obtained will be only for the ecstasy group, and the second set of result that you will get only for the alcohol group across 2 different days. The pre and post situation will be there, but now grouping won't be there. A grouping variable won't be there. So just go for analyze. So this is the case of paired t-test. Since due to violation of assumptions, as we have already tested the assumptions, normality and other assumptions are not being fulfilled. So what we'll do, we will run non-parametric equivalent of the paired t-test. That is the sorry, why I'm missing it out. We will test for We had Mann-Whitney U test for that, and for this we have this
Wilcoxon's test.
Wilcoxon signed rank test. Right. Wilcoxon signed rank. Wilcoxon. That's why it's very confusing. Wilcoxon rank sum test is for independent, either means Mann-Whitney or Wilcoxon rank sum. But Wilcoxon signed rank test is for this paired samples. So go to analyze non-parametric. Now we have related samples. Again, customize your analysis. Then in the fields, only the back depression inventory. You don't have the category now. Leave the type of drug as it is. Use custom field assignments and select only these two. Type of drug is not required. Because now you are only comparing across 2 days, not the type of drug. Every category is independent. Now from settings, customize test and check this one. Wilcoxon matched pair signed rank test, 2 samples. Okay, run the analysis. So now if you see what is the difference, now it's only testing one test is run for ecstasy over 2 different days, and another test is run for alcohol over 2 different days. That makes it different from the independent T test. Clear? Am I clear?
Clear, sir.
So now it is giving you the null hypothesis, the median of differences between back depression inventory on Sunday and back depression on inventory Wednesday equals 0. That means there is no significant difference between these two. In case of if they are treated with ecstasy, correct?
Sir, I have a problem. I was running this simultaneously with you, but I'm not getting data like this. It's not being splitted.
So haven't you splitted your data?
Sir, I've done the procedure what you were doing. I splitted the data. Maybe I just missed something, but I splitted the data and then I run it.
I'm repeating the process to split the data.
Thank you, sir.
Go to data. Select this split file. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And select this compare groups and select type of drug on group based on. Click on OK.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Only this much you need to do. And then run this one. After that, run non-parametric test related samples. Are you not getting this?
Sir, no, still I'm not getting it. I'm splitting it, but it is instead of coming back to the data, it is giving me the output.
It should give you this output.
It is giving me the output of the graphs.
It is giving the output of the graphs.
Yes, sir.
What kind of graphs?
The graphs.
Is this something you are getting?
Sorry.
Can you please, anybody else having the same problem? Anybody else having the same problem or no problem at all? So I assume nobody is having the problem. So now you will be getting these 2 kind of data sets. So first one, the first null hypothesis tells you that the median of differences between back depression on Sunday and back depression on Wednesday equals 0 in case of ecstasy. That means there exist no significant differences. If you check this with the significance, the null hypothesis is rejected. If you reject the null hypothesis, this tells you that there exists a significant difference. Now let's see whether there exists a significant difference and what to report. If you click on this, see this statement tells that since both scores equals 0 means there is no significant difference. But if you are rejecting the null hypothesis based on the significance value, it tells that this hypothesis does not stands true, means there exists a significant difference. They are not equal to 0. Now let's see here. So you can see it has positive differences of 8, negative differences of 0, and number of ties means out of 10 people, 8 were having positive differences and 2 were having the same scores. Okay, and so in this case, seeing the p-value, you can reject the null hypothesis, and you can say, you can report it like for ecstasy users, depression's level where, since significant difference is there, so you can say for ecstasy users, depression level was significantly higher on Wednesday than on Sunday. Again, you have to check for this graph, that how much change is there. So you can say that the test statistic comes out to be, means your Wilcoxon signed rank test statistic is 36.036. Your standardized score, that is Z score, is equal to 2.52, and this is represented by capital T. This is score test statistic, and you can say that if you see by this on the number of days, you can say that there exists a significant difference between your scores on, for ecstasy users, on Sunday and Wednesday. Then again check it for alcohol users. If you see this data, it says the null hypothesis says the median of differences between back depression inventory in case of alcohol separately and back equals 0. If it's equal 0, then again it says no significant difference. But since this is less than 0.05, reject the null hypothesis and you'll say that there exists a significant difference. Now you have to check this data. It's for the alcohol users, and you can say that your test statistic T comes out to be 8, your standardized Z score comes out to be 1.99, and null hypothesis is rejected, means again there exists a significant difference. Again, in the case of this alcohol users on Sunday and Wednesday. So this is how you report these results, and these histograms also will tell you means positive differences and negative differences were 9. So there were much of the differences between number of these users put on alcohol on the day Wednesday and Sunday. So you can say that there exists a significant difference, a significant effect on between the 2 days, between Monday and the Wednesday. Any other statistic you don't have? You can calculate the R value, means the effect size. In the first case, you have the Z score of 2.52, so that divided by square root of 20 will give you the value of, let's say, 0.57, and in another case you will get a value of 0.444. Both are above the criterion value, so you will say that yes, the this effect size is significant. Means these two values represent a large change in levels of depression when ecstasy is taken, because it's much than the 0.03, 0.3, and medium to large change in depression when alcohol is taken, based on this effect size. Actually, for the effect size, already I have told you that we go for calculating the effect size based on the Cohen's value, and Cohen value says that if the value ranges from, the minimum cutoff value is 3.3, sorry, so if it ranges from 0.3 and to 0.5, it shows the medium to large effect. So in this case, it's a medium to large effect of the this alcohol on the depression, and this shows a very high effect of the ecstasy on the this depression. So side by side, you are calculating that whether there is a change between the days or not, and also you are checking that whether ecstasy is having the higher effect or alcohol is having a higher effect with this effect size value, means R value. And you can say that in case of ecstasy, the depression scores are higher, whereas in case of alcohol, the depression scores are ranging from medium to higher, or a moderate to higher levels respectively. So this is about this.
So the negative sign represent, I'm so sorry, I did not get this negative sign represents, sir?
See, sign doesn't here represents anything actually.
Okay.
You have to only see this score, and these are actually this R is nothing but a Cohen's score. Already I have told in during regression or the correlation that the effect size could be calculated by Cohen's statistics, and this R is nothing but a Cohen's statistic that tell you that how much effect a particular treatment or a particular parameter is having based on your this you can say the sample size. So on the sample of 20, since we have having a sample of 20, with this we can say, since Cohen's value if ranges from, say if it's below 0.3, we say there is a very weak effect. If it ranges from 3.3 to 0.5, we say it is from it's lower or moderate to higher effect. If it's greater than 0.5, we say a very high effect. So in this case, we can see that ecstasy is having a very high effect on the depression level, whereas alcohol is having only a from medium to large effects. Clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So this is the calculation of effect size. So if you want to see those statistics that you get out of this running the Wilcoxon signed rank test will only tell you that how is there any significant difference between ecstasy and alcohol over the effect or not. This value will exactly tell you that how much that effect is. This is called the calculating the effect size. Means that effect, how much effect is there, whether it's moderate, small or high, that you can calculate through Cohen's value. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So whether you apply regression, correlation, Mann-Whitney, independent t-test, whatever, if you are calculating, see here in this case, since you are having standardized z-scores, in those cases you can calculate the statistic score. Whatever the statistic score will come, that you will just divide it by square root of your total number of observations. That will give you the effect size. How much effect is happening. Okay. Because these other statistics, see, significance value will tell only that whether there exists a significant difference of the effect or not. But this will give you a better understanding that how much effect is there, whether it's moderate or strong. So if you have to quote your entire result, then you can say that for ecstasy users, the depression level where there were difference in this significance, there were significant different levels across the 2 days, that is Sunday and Wednesday, and that could be reported by the total T value which you are getting. This is the capital T. Okay, 8. Your P is less than. P is greater than alpha, so you will reject the null hypothesis. Where null hypothesis says that there exists no significant difference, so rejecting will tell you that there exists a significant difference. Now, how much that difference is, that you can calculate by dividing this number by under root of your total number of observations. So you can say that in the case of this alcohol, it comes out to be a moderate effect, 0.44, whereas in case of this one, if you divide 2.527 by square root of 20, it will give you a value of 0.57. So you can say it is having a very strong effect. Means ecstasy is having a strong effect over your population depression score as compared to alcohol, right? So for today, I am winding off. We'll continue with the remaining part tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be seeing this these two tests. Actually, these two tests are this John Kerry's TESPRA test and Friedman's ANOVA. See, this John Kerry's TESPRA test is nothing but it's another test for this checking if you have more than 3 dependent variable. So either you can apply Kruskal-Wallis test or John Kerry TESPRA test. These two tests can be applied. Similarly, Edman, Whitney, and Wilcoxon rank some test in the case of independent sample, and then Friedman ANOVA is another test which we can use if we have more than 3 samples. So non-parametric, these 3 are the non-parametric equivalents of ANOVA itself. We'll see it tomorrow. So I am winding off for today. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
No questions, I'm assuming. So I'm winding it off here. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.